Okay, let's start this module. First, so initially I'll record one video, which is the introduction video for the administrative aspects of the module. So it will not be very long, so we'll keep it as a separate video. And then we'll get on to the actual content, because the administration here, this part, the assessments are a little bit complex, so we should spend a little time doing that. So let's look at the handbook. Okay, first let me explain this. Where's your student? Yeah, okay. No, this is February 25. Let me just go here. So I have shared a link with you on the. This one is the link I've shared. It's the same link. So I've extended the validity till 1st of June. So that's more than enough, because our exam is going to happen on 18th of May, I think, something like that. So it will be over before the validity expires. So everyone should have got this. Now I still get emails. I got one from you, dear. I got this mail from asking for access. So I hope everybody is able to access this folder. Can you see? Actually, I'm blocking the screen. The screen placement is not very good, actually. I'm blocking the screen. Anyway, I'll try to move away a little bit and then teach from this side. I think that's better, because I didn't realize I was blocking. Normally the screen is a little bit away from me so that I can stand in a normal way. But anyway, so can you see now, especially this? Can you see the screen? Okay. So do you have access to the folder? Okay, because I got an email from you saying I need access to the folder. You wanted to join the Teams section. So we don't we are not putting things on the Teams side. We are just putting it in OneDrive. Okay, it's the same thing. It's just a different location. So everyone should have access to this folder. Most of the materials are going to be in this folder. There is material on Blackboard also, but that's only the essential materials. So additional materials will be here. So it's better that everybody uses these materials. Okay, so here, once you have access to this, you just go into Spring, and here you can see your taxation. You can look at international finance also if you want to, but here you have your taxation. So already everything is arranged by a subtopic. Okay, so here you will have so I was explaining that you'll have everything over here. All the materials, lecture video recordings will be uploaded here, and here you'll have topic-wise lecture notes. Everything is over here. So we'll explain the rest of the things later on. So the handbook is over here. In MHB, you'll find the handbook. So let me just talk to you first about the handbook and explain the assessments. Okay, here's a handbook for us. Okay, so let me go to, okay, now the office hours. I don't know if this is the older version, or maybe I didn't upload the latest version. So the room number may not be mentioned here, but in the book that you have in your folder, the room number is mentioned. So the room numbers, this is the older version actually. So we have so here it should be mentioned. Yeah. So all the office hours will be in room 204. Okay. So I'll be a little bit facing like this so that I can open up the screen. So I won't be looking at this side of the class. Okay. So that we can't help that. So these are your basic office hours information. You can always write to me. Otherwise, you can send an email, put a question on the WeChat group. Okay, so now here, let's get to the assessment part of it. Here, okay, so the assessment, let me explain the assessments, which is the main part of the administration of this module. So let's start with the last one, the more complicated, the most important one, the exam. Okay, so this week we have a slight, this semester we have a slight problem because the semester is too short because of how late Chinese New Year was. So the semester is very short. So, so what we are going to see, if you look at your time, if you look at your, you look at your Ulster, your Dufi, second semester timetable. So we are starting now in this week, and your exam week is here actually. Okay, so as you can see, 18th May is going to be your exam week. Okay, so now this is the problem here, is that 18th May is actually, if you look at 18th May, the week of 18th May, these are all the Mondays. So if you look at the week of 18th May, the week of 18th May is actually, I'll just show you here, is actually your week 12. Okay, so the week of 18th May is actually week 12. Normally we don't have exams in week 12. So we have them in week 13 or 14 or something like that. So now this is a problem. So we need to squeeze in an extra class. Okay, so what I have decided to do is, so there is a problem here. We don't have enough classes because we can't have classes in week 12 because that's the exam week. So what's going to happen is, what I've decided to do is, if we come back, let's go to page 21 here. So week of 18th May is your exam week, all right? So if we go to 21, right, here you see the teaching and learning plan, okay? So if you look at this one, then you will see that, I hope this is not the older version. Yeah, it looks like the newer version. Okay, so here if you see that in week 6, according to this schedule, there is no class scheduled in week 6. But we are going to put in a class in week 6 because we need that extra class. Okay, so when you look at this teaching and learning plan, you have to assume that in the week 6, so in week 6 we have a class test, which I will come to. Okay, that's 15% weightage. So we'll come to that. But the point is that there will be a class test and there will be an exam. These two are very similar. These are just like your law final exam that you had last semester. You sit in the exam hall and you write with your pen on a hard copy sheet. Okay, so it's not a computer based thing, so it's a hard copy answer script and you have to write by hand. So those in the physical format, those two are the same, the class test and the final exam. So the class test, so in week 6 we are going to have a class test as well as normal classes. So we will schedule the class test maybe, because the class test is only 1 hour. So we will schedule it maybe at 4:30 or something like that, what we normally have, right? So we'll schedule that at 4:30. We'll discuss with the monitors and we'll finalize the time. But something like 4:30 on maybe a Friday or something, you have maximum time to prepare. And but you will also have classes, which means that your group is probably going to go from the class to the class test, right? So so you'll have about an hour break, 1 hour break. So that's going to be the, so this is one point to note, that there is we don't get an off in class in week 6. We have to do the class in week 6. So if we do that, we're going to do basically everything gets pulled forward. So capital gains tax happens in week 6. Then inheritance tax happens in week 7. So everything gets pulled forward. So because of because we pull everything forward, then we are able to finish the week 12 lecture, which is our revision lecture actually, but there's a scheduled lecture. So this gets done in week 11, right? So that means our week 12 is free for the exam. Yeah, is this clear? So this is the plan that we have. So I'll just explain this exam. Okay, so that takes care of that, and as we can see, our validity is still, so if your exam is over in the week of 18th May and your folder access, student folder access is the 1st of June, we are well covered actually. In any case, if anybody has any problems accessing this folder, you should tell me immediately. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore these emails. Okay, I keep on getting these emails. You see here, now somebody wants to access. So I have like hundreds of these emails. So I'm just going to ignore these emails because I presume this person is able to access, because so far everyone I ask, like yesterday, Iris from finance, in the last class, she sent a mail while I was in the class, but I asked her and she was able to access. So we get a lot of these emails even though the student is able to access the folder, right? So I'm just going to ignore it, but what you should do is if you have a problem with the access, please come to me or please ask through your monitor so that we address the problem. Nobody should have a problem accessing this folder, okay? So I'm just going to ignore those things. Okay, now, so that's about the folder access, okay? Now, so pretty much everything that you have is going to be in that folder. The only thing that is not in your folder is what I showed you here. This is my own spreadsheet for planning it out. That is not in your folder, but that is, okay, that is just, you can already see that layout, this layout and the material I have over here. This is not in your folder, but that you have in your, this is in your folder. The university schedule that I showed you, this one is in your folder. Okay, this file is in your, so otherwise pretty much everything else I show you is already in your folder. So you don't have to take pictures as such. You can still do it if you want to, but not required. Okay, so yeah, so let's go to the exam once again. Let's go back to class, to page 10. What's happening here? Yeah, so this is a normal 3-hour exam. Okay, so it's going to be quite a dense and difficult exam. So please pay attention during this in this module, because this is going to be a really difficult module. It is much harder than law is conceptually harder, but this is hard because this module is hard because there are way too many rules. Okay, it's not actually per se difficult. It's just a bunch of rules. I just tell you how to, calculate tax. You have here, unlike law, the difference from law in this module is that everything is very clear. There's no doubt about any of in law there is so much confusion because the judges themselves are confused. Their own rulings are not consistent with each other over time. But here the rules are all 100% clear. All you have to do is but the problem is you have to pretty much memorize those rules and practice them. So now the only reason this module is difficult is that it's so many subtopics and so many rules to remember. That's what makes it difficult, okay? So, but I think it should be able to do well. Last year, we had 60% of the school students scoring over 60%. And some people got like 85, 95, 85, 86 kind of scores. Okay, maybe one person got 93 in the final exam or something. So you can score very high marks because it's like a maths paper. But the scoring is very difficult because every time you calculate something, you get only 1 point, or maybe maximum 2 or 3 points if you write an answer. So every calculation is like 1 point. So you're earning very, very slowly, 1 point by 1 point by 1 point. So you have to be very careful and well prepared. So it takes quite a bit of effort, but if you put in the effort, it's conceptually not a difficult paper at all. Not like law. Law is, I think, the hardest paper you have ever done in the whole in your entire undergrad. Okay, so that's your exam. So it's just going to be a 3-hour exam on the different topics. We will have further exam guidance sessions later on, and then class test is also, it's like a mini version of the exam. Okay, so it's a 1-hour exam, 1-hour class test on whatever we have taught till week 5. So when we have the classes in week 6, one advantage is that the material that is being taught in week 6, the capital gains tax, that is not going to be part of your exam in that week. Okay, and for you it's on that same day. So it's not going to be, it's only up to week 5. Whatever we teach up to week 5, in week 6 we have the class test. It's just that you have the week 7 classes in week 6, right? So these two are fairly simple. These are normal tests. You have seen them many times in other modules. Now what is complicated is this one, okay? So you get 15% over here, and then you get 75% over here. Now there's the 10%, okay? Which is, so remember you have to pass both of them separately. You have to score 40% plus. In both in coursework 1 and 2 you can combine the score, okay, but 2 courseworks combined you have to get 40% plus, and in the exam also you have to get over 40%. Okay, so that you have to watch out for. So here we have actually structured it like this to make it easier for you to pass the coursework, because the scoring over here is much easier actually. So let me explain what will happen. You will get a series of what you see is, if you go back to page 21, okay, so this is called the seminar submitted questions. We will refer to these as SSQ. Okay, we'll call it SSQ. So let's go here. You will see that from starting from week 3, okay, here I don't know if they've used the word SSQ here, okay, but you have a bunch of questions. So you have to make some submissions. There are 6 submissions you have to make. So it's like weekly assignments. So you have to submit these weekly assignments. So the dual degree students, you will submit through Blackboard, and for the single degree students, I will provide a link through the OneDrive, so you can submit through that. And so this is what's going to happen. So these are the 6 things, and these have to be done using Excel. Okay, and so Excel means that you don't have to use the offline version. I don't know if many of you are using this, but since almost everyone has a Ulster University email, or if you don't have one, you can create a free ID for Microsoft Outlook, and from that you will get access to this. So once you have that ID, you have a mail, of course, but you can launch a OneDrive from the mail. Okay, since we launch it from, I don't know how exactly you launch it from here, but I'm sure you can figure out a way to launch. You'll see it when you get the options. I think you'll get it from here. Okay, so when you have Outlook Mail, here's your option here. You can go into OneDrive, and once you have a OneDrive window, what you can do is you can just go to this one, and from here you can create many of these. You can create all of this stuff online. I don't even know if you can see all this stuff. It's very difficult. I don't know why they've designed the classroom like this, because the lecturer will, or if he just stands naturally, he will block the screen. So we have to really make an effort here not to block the screen. Okay, I have to stand on here, and okay. Now, can you see now? Can you see the screen? Even this side? I was trying to show you I'm trying to, because I think it's visible. So here, if you just go here, you can create a thing. So here there's an Excel workbook. So you can create that, and you can just click on this and do it here. So like I've created a calc file for you. So I create all these like this in OneDrive, okay? So these are helpful for us to do calculations. And so this is just like a spreadsheet. So you can use this. Excel doesn't mean that you need to have an offline version of Excel. And if you're using offline versions, many people tend to use pirated versions. Don't do that, because it makes your PC more vulnerable to attack. If you have a pirated software on your PC, then it's more vulnerable to virus attacks. So don't use that. In this day and age, you don't need to use pirated software offline, because everything you need is available online for free. So use this, and so you have to make your submissions using this kind of Excel. Okay, so everything has to be an Excel file. Please make sure you name your files properly. Every year almost we get some submissions which are, especially the single degree students, have to be more careful, because in Blackboard I can already see your name ID. So even if you don't put your name in the spreadsheet, but you should put your name in the spreadsheet. So that's because I have to be able to identify the submission. Whose submission is it? Okay. So, and here you don't have to open these things. Don't open these. See, a couple of people have opened this sheet. This is meant for you to access when you're working at home. In the class, you should not open it, because it creates a distraction. Okay, so what you have to do is, let's talk about this. So you will have these, where is that? Yeah, this is so these are to be submitted like this in Excel format. Coming back to the assignments, what we have is, yeah, so every week, so we have this is from week 3 actually. So you can see week 3, from week 3 onwards the submissions are starting. So it'll be on Tuesday, because we have a first class on Wednesday. So I'll be explaining the answers on Wednesday, so you have to submit by Tuesday. So I'll give it time till midnight on Tuesday, or I may extend the time from, instead of 12 noon, I can make it longer. Okay, but it has to be done on Tuesday. So you have these 6 submissions, okay? So you make these 6 submissions over the course of the semester. And so the thing is here that if we look at this, so there are 6 submissions, and usually these are just like 2 or 3 questions, as you can see here. Okay, let me just explain one of them. Let's say this one is module welcome. So this week 1, maybe I should make it a little smaller. Yeah, so that I think that's one way. But then if it's a small font, you may not be able to read it. But that's okay. You can read it. I'll read it out for you, and then you can read it at home later on. Okay, so you have all this. Okay, so you can see this submission. Okay, so as you can see here, what is going to be submitted here is the answers to some of the questions which are in the question bank. Okay, this Q bank is the question bank. Okay, so let's take the example of the first one. So you have to get the question bank. Now, where will you get the question bank? If you look at it here, so you'll have to find out the question number for yourself. So if you go here in your folder, you got the question banks here. Okay, so if you go and click on question banks. So first we will focus on this one, weeks 1 to 6. Okay, let me just change the name here. Yeah, weeks 1 to 6. We can make it. Okay, so when you open this question bank, you get a file like this. Okay, so this, you have both the Word version and the PDF version. So I prefer to work in PDFs. So if we look at the question bank here, this is the one. Okay, so if you look at the first week, I'll just show you how to identify the questions you need to submit. Okay, so you go to the question bank. You can use this question bank file here. If you click on this, you will open this kind of file, which I've already opened here. Okay, so if you go up, we can see the starting point. So you have all this stuff, and the detail is also given here. Okay, which one you have to submit. Okay, so like question 10. Now here you see the match between these two. Okay, unfortunately we don't have these two on the same file, but you can see here that the first submission is question 10 Kate, 14 Tanya, and 15 Una. Okay, so we are answering in the first submission. You have, we call this SSQ1, is question 10 and question 14 and 15. All right, so Kate, Tanya, and Una. So let's look at those questions. Now we go back to the question bank file. Okay, so you got 10 is Kate. Okay, that's why it says hand in. 14 is Tanya, it says hand in. Okay, and 13 is Una. Okay, just ignore the Melville version. We don't need these Melvilles. We just need to worry about the ones which are mentioned here in the, you just follow the handbook. It only says 10, 14, 15. Okay, you don't need to worry about the Melville. You just let that be. You just, as a general rule, you forget about the Melville references. Okay, so these three, 10, 14, and 15. So how do you go there? You just look for question 10. So you got question 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 here. Okay, so this is your question 10. Okay, so what you have to do is here. So now you get a sense of the kind of questions we are going to be dealing with. This is a very simple question, but it gets more and more complicated. This is what I mean, that the various rules have to be followed for various types of tax. So, and you have to pretty much memorize a lot of things. Okay, so that becomes a problem in terms of just the volume of material that has to be memorized. That's what makes it difficult. And then, of course, you have to be very careful when you're doing the calculations. Very, very careful. You have to write down each of the steps properly. So it requires a lot of discipline. That's what makes it really difficult, that you have to be really disciplined and put in a lot of work. Okay, so here's your question. Okay, this Kate has the following types of income, and calculate the income tax liability for this year. Okay, so you have to just put this calculation in a spreadsheet format. You don't have to write a lot of fancy English and all that. you just write some brief notes which make it easy to understand. Okay, you can say here the tax band is expanded. There will be an expansion here which you will deal with, but you just make some just shorthand remarks which explain what you have done. Okay, just some shorthand remarks, but otherwise the advantage is you don't really have to write much. You just have to put in the numbers, do your calculation, just give some shorthand remarks. Okay, this is like the tax on the property tax, etc. Those kind of shorthand remarks. You'll see what kind of remarks are required when we do the pro formas. Okay, so that's basically it. Now, what is the advantage in this? Why have we designed it like this? To make it easier for you to pass the coursework element. Okay, and let me explain. Yeah, the introduction to the module. Now let me explain the grading part. So now you know what the question is, right? And now you know where to find the questions. In a similar way, you find the other questions. And every part has question banks, okay? So it's not just this one. So once we finish weeks 1 to 6, okay, then it actually should be week 1 to 5, actually. But anyway, then we move on to other special topic question banks. So if you look at capital gains tax, that's our next topic, which we will do in week 6, okay? Now you see here, seminar questions, week to 7. Weeks 1 to 7, question 1 to 7, sorry. This is these are all the capital gains tax questions. So again, let me just give you an example of a so here we have the questions for capital gains tax, as you saw. Now let's go back to the handbook. You see that somewhere down the road there will be an answer on capital gains tax. Okay, here's your test. Now the next one here, you see, this is a next submission after the class test is on capital gains tax question bank. So that tells you that you have to go into this file. You dig up this file, capital gains tax, and you find out which question banks are required. In this case, is only one. Question 5, Joanna, has to be answered, right? So here you go into the question bank for CGT, and go into question 5, Joanna. Here, question 5, Joanna, okay? Right, so this is the answer. So here's the question, and you just have to calculate the gain on the sale of the shares. Okay, when you get a question like this, you can just calculate the gain on the sale of the shares. Some cases when the tax rate is clear, you can also do the tax calculation, but basically you just have to answer. You will be marked on what is required. You don't have to do more than that, so it's okay. So now, is this clear now? Everything is clear how you have to go through the assignments? Has everyone understood? Is it clear? Yes? Yeah? Okay, all right. Okay, that's good. So I think pretty much we have covered. Now let me come to the other part here. Okay, this one is also in your folders, right? If you see whatever I'm using here in the class, let's just go here in the question mark. If we go here, whatever I'm using, the slides and everything is over here, the topic-wise lecture notes. So even the introduction module is actually, these are my lecture notes. These are additional notes which I'm creating, which become actually quite important for this module, especially in the earlier topics, because there are a lot of things which we are giving additional information which will help you to understand. So that the class notes become important as well. This is not part of your official learning material, because this is additional material created by me. So like this kind of stuff will not be in Blackboard, because here I'm using like online files which we can constantly update and make changes to. So that's why we can't have it on Blackboard. Blackboard cannot deal with online updating. Like this is the question bank. We have somewhere here. Let's see what see, this is the first week's notes. You see how many notes we have. Quite a lot of notes actually. right? And very important guidance which I give you, like which slides have to be memorized. So all this stuff is in the separate lecture notes which I'm preparing for you. So these things also become quite important, and a lot of additional definitions and stuff like that. Okay, so let me now go to, so as I showed you here, not in the, I went to the wrong folder actually. Yeah, let's look for, yeah, the lecture PDFs. I should have gone into this one. PDFs or PPT, doesn't matter. I use both. I prefer PDF, so I've given you the PDF. So you can see that, yeah, introduction to module, the last one here, that is also one of the PDFs, okay? So there's no real content on that. It's just administrative stuff. So that's what I'm showing you now, okay? I'm showing you that module now. So even this folder, even this PDF you have access to. So I'm just going to quickly go through it, because here there's like some, so there's a textbook here which we'll try. So this, I've given you a discount code and all that if you want to buy the textbook. So I will try my best to see as that you get as many. Even I don't have the latest version of the textbook, but we have last year's version. The problem in a subject like tax is actually that we have to use the latest textbook because the rates can change. But we'll see whether we can at least get some kind of basic methodology which doesn't change from year to year. So maybe we can bring out some of that. So I'll try to share as many of the examples from the last year's textbook as we can. And so, yeah, so learning material that I told you now here, this already explained everything. So 25% comes from your coursework. Ignore the dates, okay? This is just the Ulster version. Ignore the dates. You go by the dates I gave you in your module handbook. The module handbook is quite important. So we spend a lot of time preparing it. So you should read it carefully. Okay. Now these are the ones that they're referring to, the homework questions. This is what we call the seminar submitted questions. Okay, now this is the 10% of that. Okay, so class spends 15%. That is pretty clear. And the homework is basically, as you see here, those 6 weeks of submitted questions. Now let's go to the, so they have to be submitted using Excel, as we said. Okay, now let me go back to, yeah, so answers using Excel. Excel means online Excel is fine, okay? Or even if you have some other kind of spreadsheet software, which can create like offline, which can create Excel spreadsheets. So what you have to do is basically, let me just show you here. What you have to do is, even if you look at your attendance file, okay? Even if you look at your attendance file, this is also an online file. So the way you have to submit it is that once you finish your calculations online, you can just take this here, and then you can download a copy. All right. Then you download a copy. This because you can't make the submission directly from OneDrive into BBL. Actually, it should be possible, but they don't have that technological setup yet. Ideally, because you have OneDrive and you shouldn't have to download it. From a technological point of view, it's stupid to download and then upload. But the system's not set up, so we have to do it like that. So what you have to do is you do file, then download a copy. Okay, that becomes an offline copy, and then you just upload it into BBL like you normally do. Okay, or in the case of a single degree student, I will give them a link like this. Okay, and then you can go here and upload the file, upload the link into that. Okay, like that. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. So that's how you submit it. Okay, you prepare it like this and then you submit it like that. Okay, so let me go to the introduction to the module. So it's clear how you will submit it. Is it clear how you are going to make the submissions? Okay, if you have further problems, you can ask questions. Okay, so this is what it says here, Excel, etc. Now there is a change in the marking scheme. Okay, last year we had a scheme where if you just made a submission, if you just for submitting the assignment, you got 5 marks out of 10. It's a 10%, so let's say 5 marks or 5%, right? So just for submitting, you got 5%. This year, it's slightly different. It's not 5% for submitting, it's only 3%. So you get, out of 10%, you get 30%, that is 3 out of 10. You will get 3 out of 10 marks for free, even if all your answers are wrong. Even if all the answers are wrong, you still get 3 marks for making a submission. Is this clear? So it's very important to make the submission, because we have designed this assignment in such a way that it makes it easier for you to pass the coursework. Combined coursework of 25%, it's easier for you to pass it. And so please take advantage of all these tricks that we have put into the system, okay? So make sure nobody should miss a submission. Every year we have some people who don't submit. I mean, it's so stupid, because you're getting marks for free for submitting. Just submit it, okay, even if you don't know what the answer is. So you will get 3 marks for submission, and you will get 3 marks for your use of Excel spreadsheet, use of formulas, layouts. So make sure, this is also very easy, it's like we are giving you marks for just wearing, okay, we give everybody a uniform. Just come to class wearing your uniform. I mean, it doesn't require anything for you. You don't have to be smart or anything. Just follow the instructions. So here also in Excel, if you just follow the format given to you and make the submission in Excel, make use of formulae, etc. Here also it's pretty easy to pick up marks. Okay, you don't have to be a genius to get this mark. So you can get 6 marks or 5 marks out of 10 quite easily. So make the effort to pick up those marks, because that can mean the difference between failing and passing in the coursework, because your class test may be quite difficult. So in case you don't do well in the class test, you can use the marks from your assignments, that the combined total will be considered. You don't have to separately pass the class test, but if you don't pass the class test, normally it becomes quite difficult. But if you have to pass the 2 courseworks combined, you have to get 40%. So the submissions are designed to help you to pass. So please take advantage of the system. Okay, use a spreadsheet, formulas. What do we mean is something like this. This attendance. What we mean is this one, let's say. So I have a tax calc file for you where we do various types of calculations. Again, this I've created myself. It's not part of your official learning materials, to help you to understand different things. So here what we mean here is like, how well have you used Excel formulae, etc. So for instance here I have a formula. We have one of the calculation, which is, there's something called adjusted net income, and there's something called a personal allowance. Okay, so depending on how much your total income is, your adjusted net income, your personal allowance changes. Okay, this is the final output. So here you'll find, this is just referring to this cell. This is where the formula is actually. This is where the formula is. And so you can look at the formula here, but you should be able to figure it out, because this one is actually referring to this cell, and the formula is just in this cell. So here I put in 118,000. So if your income is 118,000, then your personal allowance is 3570. Let's say your income was actually 76,000. You see the personal allowance changes to 12,570. Okay, because I just set up the spreadsheet to show it to you in the class. Okay, and to show you how the number changes. Okay, so what we mean is that you have to be able to use formulae. Maybe not very complicated formulae, but something like this. I don't know if again somebody else has opened it in the class. Don't open the spreadsheet when we are in the class, because it creates a distraction here. You see, your cursor is over here. So close the file. Whoever's opened it should close it. Okay, this is meant for your use when you're at home. That's when you open it when you're at home. Now here's an example of a formula which I have used. So one of the things that will be considered in grading your Excel submission is the use of formulae, the use of proper formatting, etc. Now you don't have to use all the fancy colors. I just like to use the colors to give indications and stuff like that. But you don't have to use those colors, but at least have some nice, neat formatting. So you'll be graded on the use of Excel for formatting, following the proper structure, etc. We will show you some proper structures, which we call proformas. Okay, make sure you follow the proforma. Don't create your own style, because here you have to follow the standardized format. And so those kind of things, again, is quite easy to pick up. And so you should make sure that, I remember last year when I asked the students if they knew about this kind of formula, and many of them said no. So one of the things, another warning I'm giving you is that as you're about to graduate, now when you graduate as a modern student, people expect you to be able to be very fluent in all these spreadsheet tools. So modern students, everyone expects that you're an expert in Excel. You're an expert in PowerPoint, expert in Word, everything else, okay? So these things should be like second nature to you. So even if you don't have a course in Dufi that teaches you all these things, you can teach yourself all these things. But please remember that you are expected to be an expert in all this when you graduate. So make sure you teach yourself. Okay, it's not acceptable in this modern age to not be an expert in all these productivity. We call these office productivity tools. These are like office productivity tools. And as I showed you, you don't have to get, so we will be graded on the use of formula. I'm just showing you an example of a formula. So you will be graded on the use of what we call the, like here, I was mentioning these, right? So you see all these things, PowerPoint, Excel, Word, okay? These are all called office productivity software. The general term is office productivity software. So as a modern student, you are expected to be very fluent in all this stuff. So please make sure you make yourself fluent. That means that from what I heard from the students last year, they were not very familiar with Excel formulae. Please make sure you correct that, rectify that situation. Okay, I think that's about it. We don't need to spend too much more time on this. We have already spent, my God, it's already 41 minutes. How can it be so long? The last one I finished in 30 minutes. I don't know why it took so long. Anyway, okay, so this is how your marking will be done for the assignments, all right? So 40%, 4 points out of 10 for your 40% in each assignment, 40% for the actual correct answer, and then 60% for all these cosmetic things, like did you actually make a submission, right, in the proper format. So for this we will use the rule of, you have to make a submission. That means your file name should have your name on it, okay? So you should put a name like week 1, then put your name, underscore, put your name. I'll show you the format, okay? And make sure you follow those instructions. Just simple things like following an instruction. If you can follow the instruction, you can pick up the marks, all right? So that's about it. I think we have pretty much covered everything, and we already took up too much time. So what we'll, so I think that's just the end of it actually. I don't think we have anything else. Does anybody have any questions? Or why Excel? We don't have to worry about it, because I mean, if that's the rule, then we have to follow it. So there's no point in thinking about why Excel. Anyways, I already told you that in the modern world, you are expected to be an expert in Excel as a modern student. All right, I think that's about it. We have finished everything we need to, and we will go on to the actual content of the material. So what we'll do is, we'll see, our alarm will go off at 1:45, okay? But we can start at 1:43. We'll take a break from 1:44 to 1:40. We can give you like maybe 6 minutes or something. Or let me start here. We have, the alarm goes up, we'll see what we can do. Let me at least set up here properly. So let's go to the week 1 material. So, okay, now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use all the teaching time because it's going to be very, very tight. Okay, so let me just go to my notes file. Here's my notes file, okay. Yeah, so let me already start explaining and take all the time available. So now, okay, this is going to go into the other video, so into the other recording, but it's okay. You are expected to. You'll see here in the first introduction, in the first slide, the first set of slides is very big. It's 92 slides. So there are certain slides here what I'm going to mention as memorize the slides. So this one has stuff like, you'll see from the slides, it has information like submission dates for income tax returns. Okay, so 31st July, 31st January. You have to memorize these dates, because in the exam you'll get questions like, when does he have to submit? Okay, so we'll stop it here. So this is the end of our video. We have a 5-minute break. We'll stop the recording for this. This is the end of your